Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. It's the 12th. It's Tuesday. We got some news. Well, what do we got? We got like CPI today, don't we? Maybe that's tomorrow. Got a couple of Fed speakers. Overall, though, we're kind of stuck where we were yesterday. Let me come to the chart here. So you can see here's the E-mini, and it is just like, I mean, compared to everything before this, it's pretty flat. Haven't had a day as slow as yesterday in a long time. So there was some sell-off early before the open, and they did buy it, but, you know, then they faded back down late in the day, and it was really choppy. So what is the cause of this? Well, the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that the dollar index has risen substantially, and even though it's run into some resistance at 90.6, it's elevated, it's holding really well, and things look really good for the short-term dollar rise to continue. So this is the big dynamic going on. Meanwhile, treasuries continue to push lower. And you can see the steepening is just, well, it's only between the two and the larger one. So you see what in the knob, it's actually flattening a little bit. But the 2 and 10 is going pretty well. So now this kind of leads to a couple of interesting correlations across the market, right? So oil is still up, and the analysts predicting like, you know, oil in the 60s. So oil continues to go up. It looks like that the supply issues have been resolved, and they expect Americans to get back to work and the oil demand to continue picking up. But then when you look at some of these other ones, for instance, gold in particular, taking a brutal beating from this rise in the dollar. Same over here with copper yesterday taking a hit, although it's recovering today. It looks like what's going on in copper has more to do with expectations of demand in China, which is different from the demand in oil. So that's basically the macroeconomic framework that we've got going in here. So let me just come back. I swear we had more news today than this. Inflation rate year over year. And oh, that's for Russia. Wait, why would they be releasing that at 9? That's a weird one. JOLTS job openings and economic optimism. Then it's Fed speakers and Red Book. So let me come back here. When is CPI? Is it tomorrow then? It is tomorrow. Okay. So, given the news framework, I think that we have to start out with that the markets will continue to be quite tight. Let's see here. I am seeing on the news squawks that Donald Trump is expected to speak today. Haven't heard much from him, so that'll probably be a big deal. Well, I don't know if he'll say anything relevant to us, but I'm sure that it'll be widely watched. Good morning, Trader Josh. Good morning, Uzi. How are you? Goldman has a list of its top quarter four earnings ideas where its analysts are the most out of consensus. Any interesting ones in there? Ralph Lauren, Ulta Beauty. Ulta Beauty is the one that maybe interests me. Although that looks like that they're saying it's not going to do as well as the consensus does. BlackRock is on that list. That's kind of weird. Materials, Huntsman, Nuclean, Fiverr International? FVRR, is that? Are they the people that run that website? Huh. Headquarters Tel Aviv. They're in Israeli. Oh, no. I think that these are different. Oh, no. They are. This is them. Well, that's really interesting. That one will. I'll need to do some more research about that later. I'm not 100% sure, but it does appear to be that it is that website. I'm surprised that they have a stock. Okay, well, I'm noticing some shorts taken profits here. I don't know if, well, that's a tough call, but it could be a buy there. In fact, I think I will take it, but I'm gonna try it on the limit. Good morning, Win. President Trump admits to House GOP leader Kevin McCarthy that he's partly to blame for violence at the U.S. Capitol. And the thing that's kind of interesting about all this, of course, the House trying to impeach him. I don't think that they'll be able to do it. Frankly, man, it did not get filled. That pissed me off.
Block sell.
Wow, Treasury's pushing. Like they just took a dive there. What the heck? Not hitting O2 half yet, but wow. Wowee. What was that? Anyways, they want to impeach him. I don't think that it's going to work because, he was saying like go in peace and all of these sorts of things. So it's not really like he was instigating the crowd and telling them to go and attack the Capitol. But the mistake really was that he shouldn't have told everybody to come down there in the first place. And I think that, afterwards he's kind of looking at it and he's like, what did we gain? What did it help? Like, this was a dumb idea. And one of his supporters died from it. I think he's taking that hard. You know what I mean? One of his own supporters dying from it. I think that shakes him a little bit. So him talking to Kevin McCarthy, Republicans are trying to introduce a measure to censure him as an alternative to the impeachment, which I think is smart. I really do feel that what they're trying to do with impeachment is a really bad precedent to set. I think it's something that could make sense and work for everybody, but we'll see. Ed Morrissey, this narrative is awfully convenient for McCarthy with all the blowback he's getting. It's not just from members angry over the Jake Angeli, the all-organic MAGA wonder shaman and his hordes either. It's a lot closer to home. The caffeine controversy, oh yes, sure. He was buying the idea that Kevin McCarthy told Trump to stop anything. Yeah, well, they're just being cynical. I was in this article yesterday. This is like the 100th article from the left where they label me a nut and never mention that I do jokes and parody. This is Cat Turd. I am shocked, frankly, that Cat Turd was not caught up in the purge. But that kind of suggests to me that the Twitter purge is not as strictly ideological as they claim. They're probably deleting QAnon accounts and not. That's just because otherwise, why wouldn't you ban like possibly the most popular pro-Trump account in Cat Turd? I mean, he's been banned before, hasn't he? I don't know. Lane Hogg's taking a beating, huh? Well, this guy thinks that it's temporary and that the market is wrong, but I think that what's going on here is that the market is a little concerned about China. There was a little bit, I was reading a little bit today that there was some travel shutdowns and things of that nature. Well, it sucks that it didn't catch that swing, but maybe we just be patient here. I was so tempted to pay up for it, but I don't think that it seems like that was the mistake they were making yesterday. In fact, probably since we didn't make it, if it comes back down, we could be careful. We don't necessarily want to catch it. Pelosi loves Cat Turd. Well, there you go. Trending on StockTwits. There, the list of companies that you don't want to be involved in today. Plug, CCIV, Zoom, Arclight, La Jolla, Bit Digital, Quell Acquisition, Albertsons, Apex Technology, Social Capital. I forgot that Albertsons has a stock. That's a grocery chain here in the Midwest. Or sorry, Intermountain West. He's like, Albertsons is still around? Yeah. You know what happened was they had like a... I know more about this company than I should, but I don't really know that much. There was a company called American Stores, and in Utah, they were going to make it like they were going to make Salt Lake City their headquarters, and so they built this huge office building, and I mean a really big office building in Salt Lake. And because they owned like a bunch of stuff, like they owned the Boston Market fast food restaurant and a couple of other things, and then they acquired Albertsons. Well, when they acquired Albertsons, that was it wasn't really an acquisition, it was a merger. It was a pretty big merger, and it was so big that it basically the whole being headquartered in Salt Lake City didn't really make sense anymore. So they built this huge building, and then it just kind of sat there for a long time. And I don't even think even today that they still use it. It's the Wells Fargo building in Salt Lake now. And and it is equal to the tallest building in Salt Lake City. I don't think that they've ever been able to completely fill all of the vacancies in it, and then everything kind of got rebranded, but there's still like Albertsons. I shopped Albertsons in St. Pete when my children were still in school. I don't think they are here in Tennessee. Really? Now, there's something else going on, because here in Utah, all the Albertsons basically became associated food stores. Maybe it's a different... Hold on. No, that's them. Then maybe they divested some of their stores here in Utah. Must be what it is. I shopped Albertsons in St. Pete back when my children were still in school. I don't think they're here in Tennessee. No. I've wondered, because when I lived in the Midwest, we never went there because it was too expensive for starters. And, I didn't really pay attention enough to like what prices were and what you had at a store and things like that when I was a missionary. But I remember some people there really loved Hy-Vee. And the interesting thing about them is that they were like employee owned. So the profits went to the employees, and there were some employees that worked at that grocery store for decades and were making serious money from working at a grocery store. This is so weird. Can't beat the pub subs. Yeah, over there it was Kroger. Yeah. Food City? What? That's the most American sounding grocery store I've ever heard of. Food City. Oh, Brandon Robbins says he loves Hy-Vee. There you go. In Utah, the nice one is a local restaurant called Harmon's. If you want to go and get the nice hoity-toity food, you go to Harmon's. Or, like the lefty stores like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. I'm not a huge fan of Whole Foods. I feel like you spend a lot more money for food that's not really all that much better. Wow. I had 15 years at Publix. Like, some of my longest time friends are managers there. Easy $70,000 to $80,000 a year as a department manager. Store managers over $120,000. I've got one friend who pulls a DM. Oh, who's a district manager? Is that what a DM is? He pulls $250,000. Wow. for managing grocery stores. Well, he must be good at what he does to be the district manager. I don't know what's involved in that kind of stuff. I kind of wonder myself here. Because at work, well, I think part of it is just that the team that I've been on has been a team that's gone through a lot of, let me just say, growing pains. So, like, excuse me, I've still got, like, stuff draining out of my head. We do site reliability engineering. Well, in particular, we manage all of the systems and stuff that the site reliability engineers on the individual teams use. So it's almost like site reliability engineer, but advanced, I guess. So that alone makes it really hard to keep people, because it takes a certain kind of person to even have the skills or interest to learn all of this stuff. And when you have that much skill and interest, there's a lot of people that will offer you other jobs. And it's not like the company doesn't pay you well. Like, they do everything that they can to try and keep you, but it's like every single freaking time somebody will get, an offer from like a friend, so it's like, oh, well, they're going to get paid more and with a friend, like there's no way you can possibly keep them. And so the team has kind of had issues back and forth. So, and we're kind of in between tools. There's some major parts of the infrastructure that we need to like redo. So things haven't been quite as busy as I would like sometimes. And I often sit there and think, man, like I would like more responsibility. Like sometimes I feel like, some of the managers, they're really programmers and they don't seem to be very good at this managing thing. And I think I could do a better job at it. You know what I mean? But I don't actually know. Like, I feel like I could do an okay job managing the stream. And I'm sure that some of those skills transfer over. But I guess the problem is that I don't really know enough about what those guys are actively doing from day to day to really know how good I would be at it, And then I would have to go to meetings, and I'm terrible at meetings. Like, man, unless I'm the one talking, I just fall asleep every freaking time. So it's like, well, if it's a job that involves going to a lot of meetings, maybe it's not for me, right? Would you want the extra responsibility, or would you take that up way more of your time and you could lose out on time here? Well, I don't think that anything that I do at my current job would take time out of the 2 to 3 hours that we get here every morning. It's like these things where I'm sure that the big thing is that there's a lot more meetings that you got to go to, and that I tell you what, meetings take up so much time, man. There really is something to you do meetings. It wastes a lot of people's times, even though there might be like really useful stuff to it. Because it's not just like the time that you're in the meeting. It's like because it reduces the amount of time that you actually have to work on something. You've got, so like say it's a 1 hour meeting, but it's at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like how much work is going to get done between 1 and 2? And how much work is going to get done between 3 and 4? You know what I mean? So it's a 1 hour meeting, but you potentially lose like 3 hours worth of work for like a dozen people. And then all of the people that are doing stuff, waiting on other people, that means that they have to wait longer. It's just like it slows everything down. You know what I mean? And most of our guys that are like team leads also do work. So it's like, I think that if I was going to do it, it would have to be really focused, and I would have to take my Adderall twice a day to keep myself engaged all day. Whereas right now, I just know the times of day that are productive, and I just gear everything to crunching during that time. And back in the day, before inventory days were mostly automated, we'd have to hand count the stores. Wow. Okay, well, aren't we glad that we didn't try holding the 3798, because it turned back down there pretty hard. By the way, here in the Treasury, we had the Treasury took a dive there like several ticks at a time. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. There wasn't like news. I didn't see anything come through the news squawks or Twitter. And the market kind of like just shrugged it off and has since reversed and actually moved higher back to the regular open. So I suppose that if I had a really strong inkling that we were supposed to continue moving down, that this would be a good place to go short, but I don't really have any kind of such a view. I'm still at, I think that we might be relatively consolidated, so we have to pick a really good spot, right? Oh yeah, I saw that when I had left the stream running. I stopped the streaming part, but I guess I forgot to actually click end stream. But even if I had done that, you could have continued talking with him because the chat never goes away. As long as there's a person there, it stays. One package of Twinkies for the count. What? You had to count each individual piece of stuff, huh? Man. I saw the other day that they had a test store open. This is something, I tell you what, it is really weird watching stuff these days. Because, so my father, what he did is he was a self-checkout specialist, essentially. So they would sell the checkout machines at grocery stores, and he became the expert for, well, at one point it was like convenience stores, like at the gas station. And then for the longest time now, it's been self-checkout stores. And since I was a little kid, I can remember him showing us things like, okay, here's like these concepts that they have and things that they want to do in the future. And I would always see them and like, you wait a year or two and nothing happens and you think, okay, well, I guess it's not really a thing. But what I have since learned was that my time horizon just wasn't high enough. So like I remember in the early 90s when I was a little kid being shown things like video calls and thinking like, that's not going to happen. But they knew back then, AT&T and all of them knew back then that the amount that they were able to increase their data pipelines, that at a certain point they would be able to do video technology. And so at the same time that they were building up the infrastructure, they were building up the technology and the codecs and everything to do video conferencing. And now today you have it, even though it's probably still not super popular, but like they did it, right? Well, one of the things that I had been watching for a long time was stores that used RFIDs instead of barcodes. And you would there would be an RFID scanner in the grocery cart. And so just putting the item in the grocery cart would put the item within the vicinity of your cart. And so there's like no bagging or scanning or anything. You put everything in the cart, you walk through the posts, and you pay. And I saw the other day that there was now a test store for this. And that was something that is like, I've been hearing for like decades. How old is he? I think they're in their 60s now. If I recall correctly. No, not quite to their 60s, but close. Pompeo accuses Iran of being a major state sponsor of Al-Qaeda. Yeah. What's this? No, Zero Hedge pointing out that all of the interest rates are rising still. Okay, well, it's still down here. Excuse me. That was a weird sound I made. Anyways, I'm noticing that on my indicator on the inventory cost basis that on this move down, shorts have taken a significant amount of profits. Yeah, that's not going to work. So that gap is narrowed, even though we've pushed meaningfully below the seller's cost basis. So, I don't know if that really means anything in terms of like if we're going to continue going down or if we're going to reverse. Everything about the cycle and everything kind of makes this spot right here okay for us to take. So I guess we'll try a tepid one here. Okay, so the 05 in the 10 years trading back and forth there, and looks pretty fairly balanced there. I'm sure that if the equities do decide to start moving back up, that the treasuries probably will push back down really easily. So we should be watching 04 half and 04 to see if people pull or how many orders they're actually willing to take there. Oh yeah, we are going to get a red book here in like 50 seconds. So and getting this, like, I'm still getting like a cytokine storm where like I get snot out, but it's like all white. There's not actually anything in it. And I think what happens is, like, when I go to sleep, it all gets like stored up in my ears and it's still kind of like slowly coming out. Okay, so here comes the red book data. Okay, so we're getting year-over-year 2.1 versus the previous 5.5, and month-over-month negative 2.6 versus the previous of 5. And no real reaction from the market. Which makes sense because my understanding is that this is all data that they pretty much already have, right? Let's see here. I should double check that. Now, it doesn't even show up on this calendar. Ouch. Well, it fell down there pretty easily. Looks like it was just like one trade. Another fine morning with Seth watching charts and getting familiar with his weird body issues. I know, right? I really shouldn't talk about it, should I? So you don't really want to hear about my recovery. Good morning, Lucas. Are you one of those cats that could analyze themselves into being sicker, huh? No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think that I just seem to have a greater focus on myself and how I'm feeling than a normal person does. So, like, when I'm at the doctor and I'm getting like a surgery or anything like that, I really quite enjoy the, like, trying, paying attention to the experience and what is this like being knocked out by anesthesia. Well, that one really, ugh. I should have gotten out at the -10, but I was like, it was kind of holding, so I'm like, I don't think that this was because of that red book, but it does kind of look like somebody took a trade and somebody else pushed a little further, and now everybody's kind of getting involved. I don't see any headlines or anything, though. I suppose it could be a delayed reaction to the red book. Well, let's see here. What's Guido asking? Seth, can you set the stops in Jigsaw such a way that only after a certain amount of trades into that price, the stop is triggered? No. So what you can do is you can set the volume stop. I'm guessing, though, that you asking that question kind of suggests that you already have seen the volume stop and you kind of have a different way of doing it. So you can set it up so that if the queue gets small enough, then you will hit into it as a stop. But there's not one that says if 400 their trade, actually trade, then you can hit into it. I can see how that could potentially be useful. If that's the sort of thing that you want to do, then probably the platform for you is Trading Technologies, right? Because Trading Technologies is all about setting up algorithmic orders of that nature, whether you want it to be an iceberg or whatever, a volume stop or whatever it is. Jigsaw, they only have the volume stop. I think that it's pretty general enough. Well, I don't know about that move, man. How does the volume stop work? I'll show you. So here's the little order entry thing, right? I have it set up on an experimental account, and there's this little input box here that says SV, and then there's a place that you can type in a number. So here I set it to be 433. So if I set that to be a stop volume, and I will like to do it with a stop limit, but you can have it just be a straight stop. So what this will mean is that if this bid here gets below 433, so right now it's fine. We could even move it up here, right? It's not going to hit. Even if orders hit here, it's not going to do anything because it's going to wait until it gets to 433 to take a trade. See, so 1, 2, it goes into it, doesn't do anything. It has to decrease below 433. Then it will put a limit order there. So this is a really great way to only trigger your stop, especially in the treasuries, to only trigger it when the price is actually going to clear, rather than just that some trade happened there. Now, I will say, if you use the volume stop, especially in the 10-year treasury, the chances of you getting slippage from it is pretty high, actually. So, because very often if you set it too low, then that's happening. Like a guy will come in and he'll just say you had a stop here at 06 to buy into this, right? And you say 3,600, and what'll happen is somebody will come in and buy all 3,600, and then you're stopping out at 06 half. So. There's Ace. Good morning. I'm not sure what to do here. Like, because I could potentially buy it. I could have bought this dip and made some money off of it. But since we don't really know what caused that whole move, no fighting today. Anything you say, I will agree with. I love, like, I hope that you understand, Ace, that I really enjoy that. Like, it should be modified to change to stop loss at next best price if they go through the volume stop. Well, I mean, it turns into a stop order, so it'll if you set it as a stop, I mean, you can do it as a stop limit or a stop order. But when I was trading with them and as my stops, it was that if you had one set at 06 and it went through, then I just ended up buying 06 half. But you still get a slippage. I guess I don't understand. He says I do too. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how frustrated you were getting by it. I really kind of wonder what's going on here. That was definitely informed trading, that we're not getting. I think we both agree we love this country. Well, I love your passion. There you go. Well, there are some things that that weren't really exactly directly relevant to what we were arguing about, but that I brought up that really are kind of like real issues, don't you think? Like, I think anybody really looking at it has to admit that like there's problems. But you know what, basically this is the issue, is that Republicans benefited from this crap for a really long time, and so they didn't really do anything about it, right? It's just that the ways that it was benefiting them were ways in which it kind of discouraged people from voting, right? So like, and the reason that I'm so like emotionally triggered is because I go on Reddit, man, and those people over there are freaking crazy. And they literally just want like all Donald Trump supporters to suffer forever and lose all their rights and stuff. Like it's really, I really read some quite crazy things out there. So Brandon wants to go short here. That's interesting. Now, what does this mean? Hold on, I need to look up. So I didn't tell you guys about this. So yesterday we determined that because of the amount that it, the amount of intraday losses that you could have on our strategies is more than $1,000 if you're trading one E-mini contract. So probably we need to trade more like 2 to 5 micro contracts if we were going to try and do this on a combine. So I went back and I modified my indicator, my strategy, so that it continued to look at the ES data, but that it tried to take trades in the micro ES. Now, when I did that and I went and I backtested it on the micro ES, it did not backtest as well. It was still positive. It still made money, but it was like not even close. Like it was supposed to be making $1,300 and it was only making like $300. So I don't know what the deal is. Are you talking about the NinjaTrader indicator pack? Well, some of these strategies are based off of those. Maybe I need to go back a little bit further. I have a set of 4 strategies that I have developed. 2 of them require the inventory cost basis to work. I got 4. These have all back tested and have been profitable over a year, and we are running them on Sim to see how they do. Running on them on Sim for a couple of weeks to see how they do. If the results really look promising, we could potentially open up a Combine account and see how they go. Or maybe we'll just trade it with our live account. I don't know. I'm not sure that trading it on a Combine necessarily makes sense. So the issue that I see with it is that, okay, so that is exactly what I was worried about. Oh, wait, it's still short. Okay, I see what's going on. Indy decided to take one right there. That's what happened there. Okay. Which is not necessarily great, but okay. So anyways, when I did the back test, it didn't do as well. So what I've done is I've set up the one strategy that I set up to use the micros. I have it on here twice. It's running twice, and to see what they do. So they both went short, and they both went short at 37.93 and a quarter. So that's correct. But they are not always in sync, believe it or not. It really kind of shows you the difference between the micro ES and the ES. It kind of highlights it a bit more. So I was trying to figure out, what is the time frame on that strategy? That's a good question. I think that in most cases they're still only holding like 10 to 40 minutes. Did Indy? I see he did. Indy went long, took the stop loss, went long again. I really need to do something about that. I don't know what to do about it, but done, not don't. Oh, you already took a trade? You took a trade and went short and got out? Oh, I see. Yeah, 37.90.50. So I was fading that move. Well, so let me explain here. So yesterday we took a bunch of trades in the ES and just did dismal, right? Even though I thought it was going to move up, and we did move up a little bit, but it was really tight, right? So I said, well, it looks like it's in really rangy behavior. We need to take a better buy location. And so we tried doing that this morning with the one buy that we had. I think that was appropriate. I think that in this case, we just ran into some informed trading. Now, I still don't know what caused it. So because I don't know what caused it, I'm still like a little weary about doing anything. Otherwise, I would maybe try buying it. If I was going to sell it, I think I would need to wait for another swing up first. Anyways, so when I was looking through the trades that my micro ES strategy took, I noticed they were taking the same trades, but there was some instances. There was, in the last week, there was more than one instance where the micro strategy stopped out and the ES strategy didn't. Can you believe that? So I'm kind of starting to look at this and I'm like, okay, you know what? We need to look at this more, because there appears to be issues where the ES will tick something and the micro ES won't, or vice versa. And I think that I need to start doing some statistical analysis on that. Maybe it's just we need to make an indicator to really show when it happens. Because it seems like I guess it's more common than I thought. Like it's enough to make it's like a 0.1 profit factor difference over a year. Had a little earthquake there. Well, see, and the market's kind of bouncing along there. So I think these guys, that was informed trading, man. I don't know what it was, but it very clearly informed trading. It could be the red book. I don't know. And so the squawk is just reminding us that there's a 10-year treasury auction today. And I'm kind of remembering that back down here, there was what appeared to be informed trading down here, but it ended up just being a slip, I think, and then reversed higher. So I'm wondering what's going on over there. That might have been some manipulation because these guys are trading for the auction, right? Lucas says, I think it's showing a spike in volume only at the bottom. Oh, well, yeah, because like what happened was we took the trade up here and it moved 8 ticks against us. I really should have just bailed right then and there. But then it kind of paused, and then other participants kind of decided to try and go with the momentum, and it went lower. So this does seem like somebody knew something, but it's not like on Twitter. It's not like not everybody is aware. And like we did have the red book, so it could have been something in the red book, like maybe you had to read through it for them to realize it. But I'm not 100% sure. Red book usually doesn't cause a move, and certainly not like that. So that's one's a little questionable, right? And you're right. It showed a spike in volume down at the very bottom of it, and there was an iceberg down in there. You can see down here in the 87 area where they started to trade a bit more volume, or the market makers decided to start taking it down in there. But since we don't know what was the actual real cause, I can't really say what's going to happen. Joe Manchin says that an impeachment of Donald Trump is ill-advised. Stephen Wright says more Chinese cities locked down amid new cases. Yes, true. I think that's why. Well, there was a story about it, but I think it's more nuanced than that, because when you come and look at copper, here's copper. They've been down the past 2 days, and now they've recovered a little bit. So I think there is some concerns about China. There's definitely concerns about Europe. It seems that there's definitely concern about Europe, and that Europe is going to drag down. And because it's just in Europe and the United States isn't doing lockdowns like they are, the market doesn't have to like absolutely puke or anything. But there's definitely a thing going on here where they're somewhat range bound because of it. And then, you look at the dollar and you factor in the dollar too. And, by the way, when we had that move, the dollar fell. Interestingly enough. Joe Biden tweets, I urge every American to wear masks, stay socially distanced, and avoid large indoor gatherings. We can save countless lives if we step up together. Oh, that's why they're talking about Zoom. Zoom is seeking to raise $1.5 billion through a stock offering, capitalizing on surging demand for the video conferencing platform during the pandemic. Yeah, I bet. Well, the Treasury never hit, though, for half. And they're up a tick. Bank of America, we see risk to social media as losing fringe content and users, possibly 5 to 20% of the total, but don't think advertisers are very interested in advertising against fringe, quote unquote, fringe content. I think that in the case of Twitter in particular, I think that the number of people you can potentially lose is a lot higher. I don't think that the average person has much incentive to be involved on Twitter. And certainly if you think that you could get deleted at any time, that makes it the whole task of building a big Twitter account even more insurmountable, you know? Oh, yes, I forgot. So Donald Trump is going to be speaking today. Where he's going to be speaking is at a border wall visit. Chris says it feels like your channel is going to blow up soon. Oh, I don't know about that. I feel like we've already kind of blown up a number of times as much as we ever are going to. So, like, when we made the computer hardware video, that made a big difference on the channel, right? I got one about news. I think that one should end up being a pretty big one. Chris Egan says the hardware vid is how I found your channel. Oh, there you go. I'm glad. I mean, it's the thing that I know. So, and I thought that it was going to be a popular video, but I was really surprised at how far it went. The thing is the crazy thing is that I can go through and do the keyword research and figure out what people are searching for and what is the best way to get hits from search. And but those aren't necessarily the things that would help you guys the most, you know? So at the moment, I'm kind of on the position of there are a couple of things that I want to make one-off of videos about that I think are really important for people. I think that I have another year or two of content in that direction. At least at the moment, there's always going to be more stuff you think about as time goes along, right? But I want to start branching out a little bit. Just haven't quite seen the opportunities and stuff. And I don't want to take it into the space of like trying to be a stock analyst, but I do want to maybe do more on particular, specific news events, because we had videos about like what the Nike thing happened and stuff like that, that did well. And we can get into like kind of general financial advice. I think that that's the way that ultimately we're going to have to go. And if we want the channel to continue growing, is we'll get some content that is more general financial advice rather than trading, especially in the area of interest rates, right? Because that's really where I think that we have an informational advantage. Like, there was a lot of information that we knew before, like when the yield curve was inverting and everything, right? about how, you know, the yield curve inverting might not have the same meaning that it did and all of that. Of course, I don't think that any of it ended up mattering, so I guess I'm kind of glad that we didn't do a video about it at the time, but these interest rates, they're moving. It's going to matter again. Okay, so right there is a good example. The for a moment there, the micro and the ES were 2 ticks different. And Q is tempting, but I get in F and get burned. Yeah, it is. I really don't see realistically scalping NQ without an algo. Swinging it may be a different thing, but yeah, scalping it, it's just too fast, man.
Block buy.
Block buy at 0.5 half. Bought 3,000 to tick it up. Well, this is quite unusual because usually on an auction day before the auction itself, they're selling it. So the treasury's retreating here is really quite interesting, and that somebody is willing to buy 3,000 at 0.5 half, that's really interesting. Rising bond yields may put pressure on growth stocks. Gee, thanks for Yahoo Finance. That's like a week late. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Ace there on that one. Like, it feels to me, Sugar Daddy, like you're trying to pick a fight, and here like 5 minutes before the ES Open is. We're not going to get into that sort of a thing. And certainly not a dumb conversation like that. Okay, cool. I think we're all good. Okay, so a little bit they hit back into 0.5 half and they were able to make it go offer again. Goldman, here's what life under Democrat control will look like. Oh dear. So this is actually an analysis that we really need to read, but I don't think that I have time to read it right now. It's pretty long. When would fiscal stimulus reach the economy? It's mostly about how Democrats may try to change taxes and things like that, but that there's a couple of reasons why they're probably not gonna go all out, at least certainly not at first. Brannigan Barrett tweets, in order to avoid being banned from Twitter, it's best we refer to Trump as he who shall not be named. Did you hoard your slug shots for the next Biden? No, I'm not sure what you mean by slug shots. The Brannigan ferret. You should go and make one. Have you ever watched him? Oh, and you just go find him on he's on the Axia Futures channel, right? He's kind of like the head guy over at Axia. And he's got a very posh British accent. and he's a really great guy, and he has a lot of insightful commentary. But he's also very, I want to say, overly confident in some of his calls. So, yeah, he's a fun guy to watch. And I'm a little unsure where he sits politically, because I've seen him say pretty liberal sounding things and pretty conservative sounding things from time to time. Gun, ammunition? No, I don't. Well, it's also more complicated than that, but I'm not going to talk about what I own and don't own. What I own and don't own and are maybe possibly considering getting, but Forex Live says equities set for flat open. Oh, this is a good point. What were we at? Let's come back over to here. Okay, so this is, it is about where they opened yesterday. So that move down might have been, there might have been somebody just trying to close the gap, and then the other people selling it beyond that, overreacting. You know what I mean? Brannigan's resume reads London, UK, yeah. It's really like, he doesn't have a deep voice or anything like that, but it's very calming and assuring. So that's how I would describe it. Okay, so here's the open. First impulse is long, but there appears to be a decent amount of absorption against it. He looks like Kirk Cameron. Okay. Oh, and they beat out that last pivot too, and that because they kind of stopped at the ATR stop around 37.95. They were able to probe through it, but it looks like there's still some resistance in that area. Even Twitter's slowing down now here. Okay, so they do break out. So they're back to where they were before the slip down, right? And I would say that the amount of volume that they got, it's enough that this could turn into some more. Not so sure that a buy at 96 really makes a lot of sense, but I'm not sure that they're going to give us a better price. Doesn't look like there's going to be like pushback against this. Well, like there's a little bit of tug of war at 37.95 and a half. Yeah, and opening up like almost right at yesterday's range is pretty, doesn't speak well to this being some sort of great trend day or anything. Of course, now that I've said that, maybe that's what's going to happen. Well, they've built out a pretty decent amount of volume around 37.96, haven't they? So there is market buying. I'll look at that. So there was a little bit of a slip down there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, look at that. And look at how easy they moved down. Like, when they were moving up, they were pushing like here's 939 that traded at 97.5 in a quarter, or 37.95.5 rather. When they came down, it was like 50 contracts, so they just pushed right through. So market makers kind of got stuck holding that. They didn't like it give in though, kind of pushing down. Okay, Fed's Baynard is not comment about the monetary policy in his speech. Okay, cool. So I got filled on that one. So I'm 1 for 2. I'm happy about how I played that one. I want to take up deadlifting. How do I increase power? Well, you want to do some. I mean, it really depends on how advanced you are and where your deficiencies are. But most people, particularly within our profession that sit around too much, have weak glutes. So I always think that Romanian deadlifts, that will do a lot to help your posterior chain. But you might also need to do glute isolation exercises. Like this is the one where you lay on your back and you get the bar, well, you put your back on like the bench, and you put the barbell under your hips, and you do like hip thrusts or whatever with the weight, and you gotta really squeeze tight at the top there, and that'll really target the glutes and build those, and that helps a lot with your deadlift. You're also gonna need to look at, there's parts about your back and your core that play a major factor in deadlifting too. So if you're more advanced and you're having trouble staying, up and getting that last little bit, then that's where you might want to work on your back a little bit. I am weak at flexibility. Well, the flexibility usually comes as you continue lifting. As long as you're lifting correctly, like you're lifting through the whole range of motion, because a lot of bodybuilders will do like this quarter stuff, and that doesn't really help. But like, for instance, if you're squatting, you want to squat you want to go as low as you can get every time, and use lifting shoes. Man, I should run an exercise stream, huh? No, I don't think that would work very well, because I'm not very good at this stuff. I'm not big. Nobody would take me seriously. They'd be like, "You're so small, Seth. I can't give exercise advice." Okay, so we took that short off of what appeared to be some hints of informed trading short. Let's just note that we're still getting this thing where when they buy it up, there's a lot more absorption against it than when they sell it down. But they didn't break the regular session low yet. it's still quite range bound. So I'm not sure if what caused that move down was really significant. It might have just been off of Baynard's speech, you know. Low bar squatting is king. High bar needs more flexibility. So here again, not again, but I think that in this case, it really depends on what your goals are, right? So if you're doing it for more bodybuilding purposes and trying to maximize the amount that you can lift, then probably you do want to go low bar, because you can lift quite a bit more with a low bar squat. But especially if you're trying to develop that power in coming out of the hole, like for Olympic weightlifting, for instance, is probably your best example, or if you're doing wrestling, then you want to do a high bar. Because you want the mechanics of it to be as close to the activity that you can be doing. So okay, so there again, they moved down a bit, but it doesn't completely fall out just yet. I suppose I could have taken that one again, but I'm still trying to be super tactical about it, and I think that in the current situation, instead of trying to gamble on it breaking out on one side or the other, I would rather wait until we have a really good idea about what they're doing here first. Yeah, you could. Will Donald Trump be the first president to lose money after leaving office? No, he could open a subscription account on Locals and make it back in a year. Probably right. If you're enjoying the calls for unity by Republicans who've backed Trump to the hilt, just wait till we get the calls for fiscal austerity by Republicans who spent the Trump years voting for trillions in deficit finance tax cuts, says Ezra Klein. Okay, they did break the low there. It's a 90. And that breaks the average true range stop. So that one didn't last very long. Do you see it? This is the dotted purple and yellow line. They crossed it, and then they crossed it, so it didn't stay for very long. But that just means that we're in a very choppy market still. It doesn't, of course, if they go and they break a new low, if they get below 37.86, then it's game on, right? Think she wants to go up? I don't know. Well, so there was a good one right there. That was interesting. So what happened there? They pulled some offers at 91, huh? Oh, the treasuries got trashed there at 04, half and 04. Well, that one might have been worth a trade, but it's tough. 04 half would make sense to me. I know it seems like it's only one tick, but I'm still like really cautious here. So there you go. They took 04 there like that. Oh, you wish you hit it into it, huh? Geez. Sorry, I need to come back over here. They hit that one hard as the E-mini took a little step up there. And that step up was kind of similar to the move down that I traded earlier, except for that this time there was, once again, significantly more absorption against it. Just like 300s instead of 50s. Oh, look at that. They bought 04 anyways. So now I'm not so sure that you want to go short 4.5. Seems like whoever it was that bought it up here in the first place is still there or interested in keeping it in this area. It may just be that that's where they want it for the auction and it's not going to get very far. House Republican leaders will not whip their colleagues to vote against the impeachment resolution tomorrow. According to leadership aides, they will let members vote their conscience, as Liz Cheney told colleagues. I don't think that will change anything about how it will come out. There you go. So you see another two points down. Very little volume to make it happen in the ES. So you're definitely seeing a preference by the market makers to be short rather than long. RJ Will says more interest in 86. Yeah, sure. You can see these big orders down there. I don't know if there's a huge difference on the upside, but you'll take it from the market makers. I don't know, man. We keep getting hints of informed trading, but then nothing really comes of it. So I think that some of those slips that we are seeing that are informed trading, maybe it is informed trading, but that the edges that they're getting off of it are very, very small. Zero Hedge says commodities signal stagflation risk. I see that. There's definitely something about all of the commodities where it looks like they're all kind of well set up to move up. Except for gold for whatever reason, but that's just probably just a short-term thing, right? They can go for it again. It's so close. Okay. There you go. Yeah, they rebounded off of that really quickly, though. I think I'll throw out a stop there. That's interesting. So my indie strategy, which went long at 88, still positive. And my other strategy, which went short at 93, is making money too. But where the profit targets are, they're not both going to make money in the end. Okay, well, I hit into it as they touched the low there, but they're bouncing a little bit. So kind of a tug of war around 37.90, I guess. He says, I'm taking the opposite of your trade, but I've got like 4 trades on both ways, so. Oh, everything that I'm doing right now is sim. I really think even on my discretionary trades, because I tend to do okay at the beginning of the year, right? But, I still get these days like yesterday where for whatever reason I'll just get a really bad string of losses that don't always make sense. Like you could sit down and you say, oh, you're just tilting, but I think it's more than that. I think that there are pieces of information that are still missing in my analysis. So until I really figure that out, I don't think that it makes sense for me to be discretionarily trading the E-mini. Now on the robots are still in a testing period. If they get out, then I think that we will trade those, but I'm, I could trade it right now, but I don't feel like that the strategy is there at the moment. And I'm also like, when I do it, I would really want to be trading something intentional, Like I think that I want to be writing some sort of larger trend. And right now there definitely isn't any such thing, is there? What's the maximum drawdowns on your? Oh, that's a great question. So it depends on when you're talking on a daily basis or otherwise, right? And which one, of course. But I'm trying to make it so that the drawdown is let me restart. I'm trying to make it so that it will fit the qualifications to pass a combine, is what I'm trying to do. That doesn't necessarily mean that I will for sure trade it as a combine. But okay, well, so Brandon took the win. And Indy took the loss. And it looks like Indy decided to buy again, yeah. I also think this one in particular, this Indy, he's got issues. I'm not sure how to deal with it. So like it is way more of a counter trend trade than I thought. It will get situations where it'll be moving up and it'll come back and overextend down and it'll take a long, and those are really, really great. And I'm not 100% sure how I can really effectively narrow it down to those specific situations. And it seems that even if I am able to narrow it down to those specific situations, that there are enough times where this catching the knife works out that it's worth doing. You know what I mean? Oh, Richard says, what is a combine? So there are a number of services out there, the most popular being Top Step Trader, where you can pay a monthly fee to take a sim. That's why we call it a combine. Like a combine, like a football combine, right? It's basically a tryout, and if you trade the account successfully and reach certain performance parameters that they have set out, then they will give you a funded account. Yeah. Indy as in Indiana Jones, yes. I needed a name that started with I, so I called it Indy. I have Brandon, Indy, Joseph, and Squire are the 4. There was like 3 other ones that I actually might consider making changes to and bringing back, but yeah, no problem. I am running into issues with tick replay where so I don't know what the deal is, but like let's say I'm not sure why it treats it differently, but there are situations where with tick replay it will say that it took a price that it couldn't actually get, and in order to fix that you have to put a smaller data series underneath of it. So I've just been doing a one tick, which sucks because that means it takes up more memory and takes more time, but it is what it is. But that was where when I put that other data series underneath and it was being more accurate on where the fills and stops were, some of those that were doing really, really well just totally failed, I guess you could say. This is a mess. It sure is. I mean, the trade that I placed there at the low was on the expectation that, because they went down and they touched the low and they bounced off of it really hard. So I was expecting that if they push it another 2 or 3 times that it will probably fall out. And it did, but you see there was very much stops, wasn't it? Because they went and they stopped out everybody that has gone long since the open, at least on an adjusted cumulative delta basis, and now they're bouncing hard, which still kind of gives us this whole thing that even though there is a hint of informed trading in some of this, it looks like that whatever they're trading it off of is not really significant, and that we don't really truly have anything meaningful happening at the moment. Which is why I'm still being very cautious and selective about where I'm taking them. Why? How about renaming them Hope, Wish, Praise? No. First of all, I get the impression, Gary, that you don't have a lot of confidence in the robots. So here's the thing that I find interesting about the robots. I guess the administration says they're going to open up all the available doses of the coronavirus vaccine. They're really pushing to get more people to take it. Gary doesn't have confidence in anything he himself didn't come up with. These are the first 2 days of the week I've ever seen. Well, I don't think you've been trading that long. So I say this is like 2017 all over again, and you better get used to it. Oh, Gary says you're correct, sir. If you can't explain the maximum drawdowns on your robot, why bother? Well, it's not that I can't explain it. It's like it's not off of the top of my head. Let me explain to you where we're talking. So, like, if I go to the strategy analyzer, I can come here and I can find them. And here you can see that I was testing it yesterday. So I was testing Brandon. You can see I was doing a difference between ES and MES. That was just the week, right? But here on this one, so this is, I believe that this is accurate. I mean, it's doing it on one tick data and everything else, but there's a couple of little, what do we say? Nuances about where the entries and exits are. So let's just remember that, okay? So the reason why I was being vague about the drawdowns is just because I don't remember what the exact numbers were, and there's 4 of them, right? And I can pull this up, but you can see here where it's like, okay, the maximum drawdown that it took over the course of a year was almost $4,000. So basically a quarter of what its total net profit was. You can see that the Sharpe ratio is not above 1, so it's not perfect. But there was also, if I come into the analysis, you can see it like it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't reload them. So in order for me to show you the daily drawdown, I would have to go through and run it again, which takes literally 30-40 minutes. But this strategy has risk management built into it, so that, if you reach over 1,000 daily loss, it will stop trading that day, for instance. Right? So I believe that the maximum daily drawdown should be 1,000 or maybe slightly more than that, based off of, how commissions make that factor in, right? The fix is broken today. So anyways, I think that the drawdowns and everything are acceptable. But here's the thing that I think matters more, is that I designed these robots to take advantage of specific inefficiencies that I've seen in the market. And I believe that it will still require certain environments to continue doing well. So, Indie in particular should do well in a range-bound market like what we're having today. Joseph should do well if we continue to have this bubble up kind of stuff. Right? Brandon, I'm not sure about, because I don't necessarily see where it would do well or not do well. If it loses 1K max a day, what's that in percentage terms to overall capital at risk? Well, I guess it depends on how much money we decide to give it to trade, right? Because it's just trading it one contract. It's not doing any kind of position sizing or anything like that. Not yet. I'm thinking about going down that route, though. Because then I was thinking, okay, I know that on an individual basis that the drawdowns are within acceptable ranges, and that if I trade it on micro contracts, that they should be able to reach a target on a combine and pass the combine. It might take longer than I want it to, but it appears that they would be able to pass. But what happens when you're running all four at the same time? So I've been thinking about combining them together and building in some position management kind of stuff so that it can take multiple contracts at once and that sort of a thing. Brendan's got help. No, he doesn't have health issues. It's just what he's doing is so new that it's really hard for me to say how it's going to perform in the future. I can really only make a guess off of what it's done in the past year, But if that was to be let's say that we gave it a $5,000 account and we were trading this with E-minis, then that would be a 20% loss in one day. Right? $1,000 on a $5,000 account. But if we do it with micros, then it would be 1/10 of that and only be a 2% loss per day. So, I don't know. But I kind of, part of when I would develop these originally, it was okay, here's some specific inefficiencies that we've seen. Let's just set up a robot to see how effectively can you trade that inefficiency, and like what do you have to take into account with it. So with some of these, for instance, that having a daily loss limit and were very significant, but for whatever reason they will get these days where they're just wrong and over and over and over and over and over again, and so you really do have to cut it off. And the nice thing is that then I'm able to backtest it and say, okay, do I need to have $1,000 maximum loss limit or $500? Like, how often does it come back? What's the best way? And we've been able to test that sort of stuff, right? Which has been nice. But I did it all with the intention of using those setups discretionarily. But what has happened is that they seem to be effective enough. I'm kind of wondering if it's realistic for me to try and trade them discretionarily, that I would be better to trade them as robots. You know what I mean? But it's too early. Like, I made a change on this for MES. I don't think that because I had to remove them all and add them back in for that change, I won't be able to see like the results, but how much margin at risk? Well, so the maximum that they're ever putting at risk is $500, right? With how much? Well, so I got rid of it. Yeah, I had all of those numbers there in front of you. Let me try and open it back up. U.S. job openings declined less than forecast. 6.527 million versus previous 6.652 million. Anyways, we were going back to this one. So the interesting thing about this one is that it's only winning like 40% of the time, but its risk reward is 2-to-1, almost 2-to-1. So this would be like the ratio of average win to average loss would probably be 2 if I wasn't limiting it to getting out at 11:30 Eastern time. So there seems to be a situation that happens quite commonly where it's taking a trade and it's going, but you need to give it more time, and we stop trading right then and there. So that's why it ends up being 1.88. Chris says, "Is there a lot of absorption on Delta?" I'm reading the Delta. Yeah, I think that there is. Yeah. I mean, the cumulative delta overall for the day is up, but you can see how they're really struggling to hold those gains. Okay, so this time let's just minimize it. Anyways, the risk reward is 2. The reward factor is 2, and the win rate is a little bit under 40%. So that indicates where we should short. I'm not sure that we can say that. How much margin is at risk? Well, so it's one contract, right? So $500 each trade. How many losers before the risked margin is erased in percentage terms of the overall account? Well, it looks like that you would have to take 3 trades before you would lose the risked margin on a per trade basis. But that's where it's like, this doesn't scale up. It always only takes one contract. So you start sizing up, then things kind of change, and we would probably need to at that point do a little bit of investigation on what kind of sizing strategy we would want to use, because I do think that if we're going to trade this live on our own account, that at the very first we would be trading it pretty hot. Although if we're trading it on a micro contract, I guess it doesn't really, it's probably fine. So then we're risking $50, and I think that it would be on a, I think it would be more than 1%, but wouldn't be like 10, 20% like these back tests show. But it takes 3 trades for it to be over the margin required for an individual trade. And I don't know if there's anything else that I need to explain about those results. I know that you probably haven't seen that window before, so you might not know where to look at directly. How much profit must be made for the 3 losses to be recovered? 1.5. Right? Because like the average winning trade is 375, right? So 3 losses is what would take us over 500, right? So that's actually 600 divided by 375 is 1.6. Is there a way to make money when stuff isn't going anywhere like that? Well, that's why I was saying that, like, in today's instance where we really knew what it was going to do, the key was that we just wanted to make sure that we were really catching a good spot or a high probability. So what were the 3 that I took, right? The first one, I caught a good spot actually. There wasn't a lot of favorable excursion, but here we got informed trading against us is essentially what we're going to say on this one, even though we still don't know what it was, right? Now this one, we took a sell off of what we believed was informed trading. And here we were in a pretty good spot. So like we saw the decline, but we were still pretty high within the range. So I felt comfortable taking that one. There was 5 ticks against us, but that one went in our favor pretty quickly, right? So we're only in that one for a minute. And then here, this one I don't think that we got a very good entry per se. But we got a setup that I think is pretty high probability where, it's bounced 2 or 3 times and they're still at the low, that there's a good chance a bunch of people are going to stop out and go lower. So we cut that one. But basically, we want to be, very intentional about which areas we're taking and using some sort of a mean reversion strategy. So this is where, have you noticed on my robots, Indy in particular is a very range bound strategy. Joseph and Squire are very much like, we go long and we're looking for it to just go. And they do better in trending markets. And neither of them have triggered an entry today, which is really great. Price is staying around the same area, but cumulative delta is making a new high. Oh yeah, so Chris, you were saying, so does that mean we should go short? I don't think that it means that. So just remember that the game we're talking about here is the game between market makers and informed traders, right? So why are we seeing the absorption that we are? Well, because it is so persistent. And when you factor in like the trend is down overall starting from the overnight session and everything else, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the reason that they're absorbing so much on the sell side is because that's just the direction that the market makers have decided to go, or their systems tell them that they should be going. So when they're absorbing contracts, they're acquiring inventory short and then taking it off. So does that mean that we want to go short? Well, it means if we're going to do some market making kind of trades, then probably, yeah, you do want to go short. But that doesn't mean that some piece of news or informed traders will come out and take it long and break that out. And that's why it's very frequent that you will see the divergences in the cumulative delta and not be able to really predict which way it's actually going to resolve. So I've done a lot of research on this, and when you get a divergence like that, you can't necessarily predict it. I guess we should revisit that one because I think I have more sophisticated methods of looking at this stuff. But I'm going to bet that there's not a huge statistical advantage in which way it goes, right? So if we're trying to trade as an informed trader, then I think that the informed thing to do right now is to just stay out, right? Because it's probably going to be relatively even. Gary says, wait, 500 in losses, but 375 is made on that strategy. Even 1.5 trades doesn't make sense. You lose in slippage. Well, so commissions have been included. Slippage hasn't. I believe that the way that I'm back testing it is quite accurate and that it is extremely likely to get the prices that it says it is. Because I'm testing it on a tick by tick basis. So 500 in losses, but 375 is made on that stretch. Well, no. So an individual loss is 200, right? Individual loss is 200 and an individual gain is 375. 1.8, right? And you're saying, how do you make up the 125 difference if you have massive drawdowns? Well, I don't think it has massive drawdowns. Like it was said, the most that it had was 5 of those. Chris says, yeah, that makes sense. Good. That was, I really felt good when I was saying that to you, Chris, because I was like, look, we understand what we're talking about, and I'm able to give a really concise and nuanced explanation of how you need to factor that information in. Which I'm not necessarily feeling super great today still. Oh man, yesterday I did stair sprints as my we need to start exercising and start building up here, you know? And oh, it killed me, man. A 375 gain for 200 of risk is such a tight window. I don't understand what you mean. It's 2 to 1. So you're saying, yeah, the winners are more than the losers and only by about double, a little bit less than double. And how does it make up for that tight window? Well, because it has an actual statistical edge, which is to say that the chances of it reaching its target are really good, more than what the difference between the average winner and average loser accounts for by a significant portion. Well, that thing really took off, didn't it? Walter Bloomberg says Trump asked if he would resign and declines to answer. Oh, I missed it. That was like 4 minutes ago. Oh, Feds Bostic says we must. Oh, hold up. Not seeing it on Twitter. I always want to wait until I see these on Twitter before I tell you guys. It was Feds Bostic saying basically we need to continue looking at basic universal income. Okay, so Squire's now going to take it, huh? Curious. Very curious. So we'll see how this one turns out. This is a different one. Now this one is 10 to 1. Or actually 5 to 1. If I wanted to do 10 to 1, I would have to have a longer trading session, I've discovered. But I can do 5. It's like 4.5 to 1. And I don't remember what it gets. Well, let's do this one because I can show you really. So if I come in here, because I don't need to use tick replay on this one. So if we go in and we do Squire. Okay. I don't believe that I have risk management built into this one. No, I don't. Okay. Include commission, and we don't need tick replay. This is crazy dumb price action. Well, I think that you just got a volatility breakout there, right? The guaranteed income is not a crazy conversation to have given the costs of poverty, says Feds Bostic. Well, okay, I can go along with that. I don't think that it's crazy to look at it. But I think that the social costs of a basic universal income and frankly the inflation costs far outweigh the improvements that it makes to poverty. It should be 2 at risk for 1 reward. Well, it's trying to do that, Gary. I feel like you're not completely listening. So just, okay, I know I'm droning on, but I'm trying to be as precise as I can. So I will just say it again. The strategy attempts to get 2 to 1, but it ends up getting more like a 1.8 reward factor because there are many situations where it ends up having a good winner when it comes to our 9:30 Mountain Standard Time stopping point. Right? Otherwise, it probably would be 2 to 1. And you say the percentage is tight, like 51 to 49. Well, if I could get 2 to 1 and keep it at a 50% win rate, that would be like fucking amazing. But I don't think that that's ever going to happen. And for it to be at almost 40% is actually pretty great. Now, this is taking longer to backtest than it should. Hold up. Did you just... I don't think I did. I'll move this over here. I'm just thinking back on what Gary's been saying, because the questions that you're asking are kind of suggest that you don't think that it actually was back tested or something, right? Like the win rate and the average winner and loser and everything has been tested and is profitable over a year time period. That would be fucking... Oh yeah, I did say fucking... Well, that's a technical term. You understand? If I had just said that would be amazing, like it's not the same thing. No, Zero Hedge not happy that Bostic is tweeting that about that guaranteed basic income. Chris says it would be good if you could do more videos with probabilities and statistics in them, like the moving average strategy videos, the information to view up. And yeah, it was good stuff, right? I have actually a lot more videos like that to make, but the situation just hasn't allowed for it. But there's more of those coming. Gary says testing 1 year of data is not enough sample sizes. As I actually, on that one, I have run it on 2 years of data, and it was still good. I mean, there was no change on 1 year of data versus 2 years of data. I would love to test it on like a 10 years of data or whatever the situation is. But in order for me to do that, I would need like a workstation machine. You have to understand that for me to run this strategy and backtest it even once is like 30 minutes. So on one year's worth of data is a 30-minute back test. So kind of puts a limit on, and it takes a lot of memory. So that kind of puts a limit on how much we can back test it. We don't have the resources to back test it further. These other ones, that's not the case. This one. So did I? It's still going. I'm gonna close it because it should definitely have finished. I may need to restart NinjaTrader. There might be some funky memory shit going on because it has some real issues with the memory. With Squire, I don't remember what it did when you go further out. Oops, we need to set an instrument for it, huh? Okay. That's better. Oh, whoops, except for that I need to give it, I need to have it go back a year. Let me fix that. And let me turn off the sound, because I don't think that you guys necessarily need to hear that. Come on. Okay, and run. We're getting quite a bit of market movement here, so it's really chugging along here. No, you cannot. They're saying you can download the data, create spreadsheets, and separately test the data outside of Ninja. that would maybe be something that would, well, the thing is that in the situations where that would make sense, you wouldn't have any reason to do that. So understand that it is downloading a tick by tick data set to do this, right? So why would me downloading the tick by tick and building all of the, yeah, so it's a tick replay strategy, Gary. So it downloads tick by tick data. It determines what the best bid and ask was at that time and uses that to determine whether orders were buys or sells. And it uses that to make calculations about where it needs to take, where it should take trades at. Right? So even if it's not a matter of it not being able to get the data. I can have it download that data going back probably 4 to 8 years. The issue is that even if you take it outside of NinjaTrader, you're talking about a really big piece of data that is larger than the amount of memory that my machine has. And even if you have the memory, it's a process that takes a really long time. Even if we had the memory, it would still take like 4 hours to run it, right? Build your own damn. Why? How would that help? You would do all of that work to be able to do it outside of Ninja. You would still have the same limitations. Except for that Ninja's already done the work for you. It's not a limitation of Ninja. It's a limitation of it's a really fucking big data set. Fucking big being a technical term. Meaning that it's bigger than just big. Right? This is something that I think even if I had a Threadripper, I think it would probably still take an hour. You don't get what I don't think that you know what you're talking about, Gary, to be frank with you. If you think that going through and doing all of the work at creating my own platform to do this back test that won't make the back test faster. 42 trillion gigafucks. That's right. Okay, so here it is. So here's this one. So because I can just run this one, like, straight without having to do the back testing, it's easier for me to show you more information about this one, right? So now you can see how that one works. How many times I don't think that you've done this. I think I know more about it than you, to be honest. Because if you knew more about it than me, you wouldn't be saying this stuff. Like, I think it's so funny. So often, it's like you guys think that I just make this stuff up or something. Like, I've literally spent over 100 hours in the last quarter backtesting this stuff. Do you think that if there was an easier way to do it or a more efficient way to do it, you don't think that I looked into it? Like, freaking come on. It was this machine has been churning numbers since the summer, basically, coming up with this stuff. And it's a really sophisticated and complicated strategy that takes a lot of computing resources to go through. It has nothing to do with NinjaTrader. It's just the reality of the situation is that tick replay is a lot of power. It is a lot of resources. It spent 20 years. You couldn't even program one strategy, Gary. According to what you've told us, you don't program. You apparently don't understand the limitations of your own knowledge. Ooh, that hurts. Seriously. I've It takes a lot of computing resources. I don't have a big enough computer for it. If I worked at a large corporate, if I worked at Goldman Sachs, then I could go and use their compute resources and then do it overnight, and we could look at it over an 8-year period. Yeah. If you've never done it, then I don't think that you necessarily know how to properly backtest. But here in this situation, we are literally just up against computing resource limitations. There's nothing you can do about it except for buy a better computer. And even if I bought a better computer, I'm still a little unsure about how much it would help. That's why I haven't done it. Because we're talking about, oh man, like the kind of machine that I think we would need to build in order for this to really make sense. You're talking about something that's like $600 just for the motherboard. So how many backtested strategies are you currently deploying? I have 4 strategies running today, and I'm running them on sim. So we've gone through the backtesting portion of this. We've done a pretty thorough backtest, and I'm pretty confident. I've even gone through and looked at the individual entries and exits and everything and determined that it's good. I actually have a strategy that's better than all of these, but the place that it ends up taking is the win is crazy, right? Like it ends up taking trades during like those really fast moves, and so the chances of it actually getting the price that it says, I think, is really questionable. Okay, but I went and looked through all these ones, and they're all pretty solid. Can I send my rhythmic data feed to a free? Yes, you can. So this is the funny thing about it is that NinjaTrader doesn't support rhythmic on a broker other than the NinjaTrader brokerage, but the free version has to allow that for demo purposes so that people can demo rhythmic data. So if you use the free version of it, you can use the rhythmic data and just set it up to use the plugin and get the data coming out from Rhythmic Trader Pro. And that's how I do it. Anyways, back to the whole thing about how much data you get. So here, this is one we've run over a year, right? Plugin, bro. Sorry, where is it? Okay, so let me show you. So first thing is you have to have Rhythmic Trader Pro. Pro. P-R-O. And then the next thing is that when you log in, there is a checkbox. Actually, let's just do it. When you, yeah, I'm just going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it because I can't really show you. When you go to log, oh, actually, no. I can't show you because I can open it up a second time. Hold on a second. Okay. So when you open up Rhythmic Trader Pro and you're at the login screen, you see here where it says allow plugins. So you click that and you turn it to on. Okay. So that's the first thing. And then you come into NinjaTrader, if I can. Jeez. Yeah, I need to restart NinjaTrader because it's I'm running out of memory. I'll just wait for it. It's gonna do weird stuff here. As you can see, we ran that. Oh, I guess I'll just close it. We ran out of memory. You're okay, Uzi? It's a joke. It's a movie. It's a joke. I don't. Oh yeah, I haven't seen that. So I don't know. Anyways. Waiting. Okay. Hopefully it will keep that position that we had on on the Squire, but we'll see. Nope, it didn't. That's unfortunate. Although it says that it's long. Oh, no, wait, it did keep it. It's still long. Okay, that's cool. I guess we're going to keep selling below value. Yeah, I don't know. So this one that Squire that took it long, I think that it's going to lose. Because it basically that strategy is doing a volatility squeeze, and I understand why it took it, but I don't think that it's actually a good trade. Anyways, because it's range bound, that's exactly where that strategy would get screwed up, right? Question: what is the breakdown of your short time frame, medium, and long time frame trading, or is it all day trading? That's a good question. So I use those terms pretty vaguely, just based off of what I'm thinking right now. You know, to me, short term is something that like should be happening immediately, whereas a midterm is kind of more could happen, but I'm not exactly sure when. And the long term is like, you know, those things where it's way further away in the future than most of us are really willing to think about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyways, I was showing Greg, right? So then when you come in here to my Arithmic, you can just say plugin mode for market data, and you have to put your username and password in and everything, right? And that's how you do it. And if you're using like a demo license, it lets you through. I'm in Rhythmic under my app. Yeah, I'm the exact same, Greg. I mean, I'm kind of thinking like maybe I should just go over to NinjaTrader brokerage. So because I can't use my full license with it. That's like the annoying thing. But I don't think that NinjaTrader really intended it for it to be used this way. I think that it's an artifact of things that they have to have set up in order to use a Rhythmic demo with NinjaTrader. So We'll just keep it quiet, I guess. Hopefully it doesn't change. Okay, so it does in fact show that it's long because, oh, so for that it doesn't have its target and everything. Well, I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I don't think it's actually going to get there. I guess what I should do is have this one. How do I do it? I'll just do it this through it here. Close position. Okay. We'll just note that it took it at 37.99, and we'll see how far it goes. But I don't think that even if it ended up being a winner, I don't think that it would get there before our time is up. So are the biggest waves and wins on 1-minute charts? No, not really. Yeah, there you go. There's many different ways to make a profitable strategy. They don't necessarily have to be off of all of the biggest moves. And in fact, I think that if you're going to find technical edges in particular, that you're probably not going to find them unless they're really small, right? I guess I made Gary too mad because he stopped talking. Some people justify Bitcoin going to 110K this year because the amount of small speculators and the amount of small businesses is not operating. Yeah, well, so the issue with a security like that is the price is being driven by speculation. That's pretty much unquestionable now, right? So if you were to try and calculate what's the highest that it can get, you would have to basically be able to do an analysis that's like how many people are out there that exist that would potentially invest in Bitcoin in the next 3 months. And collectively, how much money do they actually have to be able to invest in the thing? And then we could do some sort of an analysis based off of historical tendencies to see how much it can actually, how high it can actually go based off of the amount of money that's available to be put into it, right? You can do this on stocks too. You can go and you can look at like how much money was put into Robinhood accounts, and then what percentage of that is going to go to what industries, and there or go like what's the highest that the security can get, right? But so you want to do that with Bitcoin, but we don't really have the information to do that. So all we can say is that this is what it should be based off of blockchain activity, and we're well above that. I personally think though that 110 is unrealistic. So, and I will explain why. It's not just, oh, I have an indicator and the indicator says that it's overbought. The other issue is that Bitcoin analysts that are saying this, The way that they're calculating this is they're basically saying, okay, last rise Bitcoin moved up 800% or whatever it is. So if we do another measured move off of this next one, then this is the price they would get to. And that's how they're determining it, right? But the reality is that the amount that of money that is in Bitcoin, it changes over time, right? And the higher it gets, the harder it is for them to continue to push that. Just look at the amount of tether that they've had to print in order to get price to where it actually is today, right? It's insane the amount of money that's gone into it to get here. So the reality is that each one of those moves, as Bitcoin becomes more popular, is going to become more constrained, because as it becomes more popular, the number of people out there that are willing to invest that aren't invested yet gets less and less and less, right? So I don't think that these like 100K predictions, I don't think they're realistic at all. I think that the people that said all of those things are going to look really stupid at the end of the year. And I'm still looking for an 80% decline, possibly as early as this week. So we'll see. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, look, you got it, Seth. Bitcoin came down," and I'm like, "Well, that wasn't really the call I was making." 85% decline is what I'm looking for. Some people were posting $1 million drawdowns on Twitter. Maybe it was real, maybe it was not, but they didn't sell at minus 4 million. Wow. Jeez. It wouldn't surprise me. There's some people that just got lucky. Like that's the thing that's kind of, I don't think that a lot of new traders realize is they're coming into like Wall Street Bets or Twitter or whatever, and they see these people posting these really big gains. Well, to post a gain like that, you have to be taking on a lot of risk. So these people think that, like they caught that big winner, and they get big winners like that all the time. But that's not the case at all. What happens is they catch it one time, and then the rest of the time they're blowing it all on these really risky plays that don't work out, right? And so because of what they're doing, then yeah, they're going to come along and they're going to get these huge risks, and you're going to see stuff like that. $4 million drawdown. Same thing during all bubbles, hold all the way up and all the way down again. Yeah. Well, some of them lose it a little bits at a time. That's and that was kind of the thing that I was trying to get at with the back testing is I'm not sure with Brandon, but with the other ones, there are specific market inefficiencies that I'm trying to take advantage of. And there are specific situations where I know that they're not going to do very well. Today being a good example, I don't think that it stops out yet, but this trade is looking for, something to do with volatility. And that's why it took the long. But because we're in a range-bound day, that is exactly the kind of situation where that trade doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And the reason why my backtest is able to make money is because the risk-reward is so insane, right? But if we're taking it from a discretionary point of view, this is a place where we could sit down and we could say, let's not turn that particular one on today. You know what I mean? Like Bitcoin plummet. Oh wait, holding doesn't make sense in Bitcoin if you're leveraged. Like, I don't get it. Couldn't I just buy 500 Bitcoin when it's deep low and just let it sit there? Bitcoin plummets to 5,000. I exchange 500 into BCDC. Then Bitcoin goes back up to 40K. Isn't that a return on investment without risking my house? Yeah. Well, but people, there's a thing is that like something that I notice is really common for new people, and I think that when you go through this, you're just always going to notice it in yourself, frankly, is when you think you have something. If you thought you had something, wouldn't you try and put as much into it as possible? Right? So if you go and you put $500 into it and that $500 turns into $4,000, then it's kind of like, yeah, but $4,000 doesn't really change your life a whole lot. Shouldn't it be, since you know that this is going to do a certain thing, shouldn't you risk everything that you can on it? But then the reality is that you're really aren't that good, and the people that catch these things are catching it in spite of themselves, So then when they do catch the winner, they don't know what to do with what happens afterwards. They don't know that it's like, okay, you got it this time. Bitcoin moved up. Now it's time to get out and go away for a couple of months or years. No, they think that they're geniuses and they just keep trading it and trading it and trading it until they've lost all of those gains. Nah, it doesn't. But like, why do people turn to trading to change it? Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, if they really understood trading, they wouldn't be trying to do that, right? Because I think the more that I get into trading, the more I see that even if you do really, really well, the rewards aren't necessarily amazing. It's only a small handful of people that graduate to managing a huge portfolio that really truly make money, like that turn into billionaires off of this. I understand that I've been trading a good long while. I'm just saying it seems easier to just dollar cost average Bitcoin in small increments as opposed to leveraging it to the hilt and losing here. Yeah, sure. Well. And furthermore, to the point, why would you want to buy it when it's already up like 400%? Like, I mean, I know there's this whole thing where it can keep going a lot further than anybody expects, but come on, man. There's a real point of diminishing returns and where the risk just isn't worth it. And it seems like most of the people that are doing this kind of thing don't have a sophisticated enough strategy to even think about doing that kind of analysis. And I guess I'm on this one because there was a thread on Reddit the other day that was like, how do you know for a stock like Tesla when it's going to keep going? And it's like, dude, like that's the whole point, is nobody expects it to keep going that high. There's all of these people with money and it's the most popular thing, so they get into it. It's going to go higher than anybody expects because there's no logical reason for it to be as high as it is. That's what causes a bubble. Right? Like, if that's what you're focused on the wrong thing, because those are hard trades. You don't know when it's going to keep going. It's so much easier to go and find a stock that's a really good, solid stock with good, solid future growth and just buy it and hold it and watch it double, triple in value than it is to go and, catch it before it's popular, than it is to try and find the one that's already popular and everybody's already looking at and then try and make a determination on whether or not it's fairly valued yet or not, because everybody's looking at it. This makes like zero sense, but that's what people do. And even people that are trying to take day trading seriously. I never really thought about getting rich from trading. I would just like to make $100 to $200 a day so I can go back to work to college without having to get a job. Well, that's from day trading. It's realistic if you got a big enough account, I guess. Yeah, but those popular stocks like Tesla people won't sell till they blow like 50% of their account. Reality won't hit them. They believe Tesla will go to the moon to 1,000. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? So those are exactly the kind of person that when they take a loss, they double down. And I think that in this particular market in particular, that there's a significant risk of that, because you've got all of these day traders that have literally never experienced difficulty. It's been, ever since they've been in the market, it's been up big time practically every day, you know? We'll see. I don't know if the other economic data that's coming in the rest of the week will make significant changes here and will break out. But I'm going to bet you that by the end of the week, that if we continue to have days like this, that there's going to be a lot of wailing from the newer retail traders, right? Because I only took 3 trades. I haven't really seen another opportunity since. I think that maybe I should have gotten long and I could have caught some of that uptrend, but I didn't really see it. So now I don't really see an opportunity. So I just took the 3, right? Because I know. But all these guys that don't know, they're just going to keep trading it like I did yesterday, right? Because I was completely clueless yesterday. I didn't really think about the change in the dollar or the fact that we didn't have news. I just thought it'll just be like any other day, that just buy it up. But Tesla's not a car, though. It's also a car that can read your thoughts on the moon. A buddy of mine is sending me screenshots of BTC traders losing their shit on Reddit. I was reading a bunch of stuff where some people from Coinbase were having issues, like their accounts getting locked and stuff for no reason. And they were very upset. Okay, so there's another decline. It's recovering from that pretty quickly. And also Tesla has the potential to bring down the entire market. Maybe you're right, yeah. You always have gastric. I haven't really had anything too serious today. I've been good. The issue that I have is, like, if I eat late, like if let's say that I just end up eating an hour later than normal, then I tend to get really bad indigestion. Like basically what happens is the bowels empty out, and then when the food comes back into it, it really hurts because the inflammation makes it go, and then you got this thing pushing it back out, and it's like so painful. What is decline, says Onyx. There you go. Well, so the thing is I don't really understand the impact that a large stock like Tesla can really have if it was really going down all on its own. That's kind of where I have an issue. Is like I'm not sure that just Tesla going back to what is like truly fair value really means that the rest of the index goes with it. It could just like rebalance, because the issue really is that Tesla shouldn't be as large of a market cap component of the index as it is. So I'm not sure that Tesla all on its own can create a bear market in the S&P 500. but I'm saying I don't really know. Like, I'm skeptical about that, but I don't really know enough about it. I've never seen anything like that, so I can't really say what tends to happen. We would have to do a really sophisticated analysis that I don't think I have the resources to do. Mostly time. I think probably we could calculate it. It's not acid reflux. It's like I have ulcerative colitis. So basically, the colon is really inflamed, right? So if there's no food in it, the inflammation it kind of it expands, and so it gets really tight. And then when the food comes in, it's like pushing it out like this, right? And so when the food comes from your stomach into your intestines and it pushes it all in there, hurts. It's painful. So I'm really, really finicky about eating on time. In hindsight, trading the extremes on VWAP seems so easy. Are you talking about like you're using VWAP bands and, when it gets to like a second deviation away from the VWAP, you trade it back to the VWAP or something like that? I don't remember the specifics, but there was something like we did a study a couple of years ago where we found that if you got a third standard deviation away from the VWAP, that you had a really high probability chance of being able to counter trend trade it, fade it rather. Yeah, second deviation bands. Yeah. I used to rely on the VWAP bands a lot for my trading. I actually, it took a long time before I took them off of my charts, but I think that it was really, it just kind of came down to that the probabilities on those just weren't reliable. Do you know that there is nothing that can trigger your inflammation than carbs, plants, and roots? Well, as far as I can tell, there are some things I can eat that make it specifically bad that tend to be like citrusy fruits. So like tomato soup or orange juice. But other than that, nothing else seems to change the difference. What makes it hurt is the food coming in and not necessarily what kind of food it is. Big Toasty, how are you? Or you're late. You're late. What happened? What's Newt Gingrich saying here? Where the will of the American people has to be subordinate to the will of Pelosi. Trump has to be impeached to stop him from running again. Pelosi feels the American people might pick him if they were... Oh, that's an interesting take on it. If they were allowed to. What a formula for expressing Washington's contempt for the people. It does make you kind of wonder why they want to impeach him. I don't think that they could, that he could win again, but not unless the Democrats did something, continue going down this road in a way that it helps him, but he had some stuff to do. Okay. Oh, I'm talking about what makes it exist in the first place. Well, it's really common for people to say, you just have too much gluten in your diet or whatever the thing is. But I have tried eliminating all sorts of foods from my diet to see if it makes any difference. And there's been a number of studies on this. And it's still basically, they don't really know what causes it. So... none of it seems to make a difference. Man, I was just thinking about the computing resources thing, and like this algorithm that I'm using for Brandon, it is not it is computationally expensive. Like it's like an O of n squared type of algorithm. Like trying to do it over like 4 years worth of data is just like, even for a big computer, is not very, it's a big pull. Because it's not just like you have to, for every data point sort of a thing, but then for every bar, it has to go through this whole thing where it has to compare basically every price to every other price. So it's like a log n. It's like an n log n algorithm. Can't even, well, I've tried, replacing dairy and carbs, and the funny thing is that more carby sort of things, like I don't know, rice and pasta tend to work better for me because they're soft, so they don't irritate the colon once they get there. It's when I start taking like, really high fiber stuff that then things start getting weird, and then that can make it worse. I rent servers to run machine learning code in interactive. That might be something that we could do at some point. Yeah, well, like I was saying, I really think that what I need is a Threadripper machine with like 128 gigabytes of RAM and a big processor. If the channel keeps doing well, because the channel's been doing well, we've been doing well today on the stream. We've gotten up to, I think we're still at the height. We were up to 45. Doesn't tell me what peak concurrent viewers was anymore, but it looks like we got up to 45. So the stream is doing well, and when we put the videos out, they do really well. Just because it feels good initially in your colon doesn't mean that when I did these sorts of things, I would take something out for a month. So I'd take it out for a month, and it just didn't make any difference. The only thing that really helps is Lialda. That's it. I get what you're saying. Everybody always thinks that they've got some sort of home remedy or something. But like, that's why I'm saying this is the sort of thing where like the scientists are so much at their wits' end about what causes this that they've tried like absolutely everything, including all of those kind of home remedies that you would talk about, like searching for specific food allergies and things like that. And I have tried that myself, and none of it makes a difference. And it may be the case that maybe there's something that causes it, but that once it's happened, you're like, it doesn't go away. You know what I mean? Like the immune system it's an autoimmune disease. So once your body has become triggered, it will just forever always be like that. Could be the case. Oh, I didn't realize that both of these guys took along here. Have you tried steaks for a week? No. Eat nothing but steak for a week? That probably would not be a great idea. Not to mention expensive. Good grief. Feds Kaplan, closing the racial gap in education is a high return action. Yeah, that probably is true. See, you got to the edge of your nutritional knowledge. That's why I am broke now. Well, I have to say on the robots that I'm quite impressed. I wish that I hadn't restarted Ninja Trader and all that and replace them. I don't know if it's a big deal because I don't think that I'm going to be trying to trade them live this month, but just because of the way this market is going. But maybe I'm wrong. But they've been doing really well. The lot of them together has been really good. And one thing I'm noticing is, I think that some of these, the win rates are less than 50%. But, I thought that I would maybe have days where it'd be like, take one trade a day, 3 days in a row and lose. But it's not doing that. It takes enough trades that most days they do come out positive. You got Dr. Morse. Like I said, I've looked at the diet stuff, guys. Like the suggestion that it is just a food sensitivity or allergy of some sort, I think has been pretty thoroughly proven false. It is an autoimmune reaction. How can I donate money to the channel? I don't need the Bitcoin, and I would like you to backtest something for me. Oh, well, so first of all, if you want me to backtest something for you, just message me on Discord, because I'm always interested in a good idea to backtest. The problem usually tends to be that there's enough vagueness in it that you can't really do the setup the way that they want, but every once in a while, somebody comes along and shows me something that's really specific, and it might not necessarily be profitable when I learn something about it. So I try to help with those sorts of things wherever I can. Now, in terms of helping, if you want to contribute to the channel, you can click the join button down below, and there are channel memberships, which are like a monthly membership. And with that, you get access. If you go to the elite membership, you get access to my Ninja Trader 8 indicators. And there's a Discord channel. And that's a relatively new thing, so there's not a ton of people in the Discord channel yet. But people wanted it to be available, so I made it available. So you can do that, or you can just do one-off donations here on YouTube. It works too. But I think ultimately the thing that helps the channel out the most is just promoting it. Like when you're on Reddit and you see a thread about YouTube and you mention me on that thread, which almost never happens, by the way, that everybody else has people that will always make sure to come in and post for them, but you guys don't care about that sort of stuff, which is kind of cool. But that word of mouth stuff makes a big difference, right? But I don't know. It's kind of funny, like when I think about those things, because they come up from time to time. Like for instance with a Financial Juice, because I got a link from them. We're going to use in a video, although they want me to hold off because they're still changing something with it. But they also got this whole thing where, like, if you have a YouTube channel, they'll like set it up into their feed. Because in addition to like their news squawk, they've also got this thing where they can basically pull in tweets and all these other kind of feeds so that you can have them all in one place. And I'm like, well, this is all really great and everything, but the only thing that really truly makes a difference is when we put out a video that is provides information that people are searching for, and it gets picked up by search. So the reality is the thing that we can do that helps the channel out the most is make good videos. So if there's a good video idea, then that helps a lot. But otherwise, probably wouldn't worry too much about it. Unless you want to give me like, $5,000 and then then we'll go and buy a Threadripper. And oh man. But keep in mind also, Greg, that although what I was talking about was really specific to that particular strategy, because it's using order flow and it requires historical bid-ask to do its calculations. That's what makes it so expensive, computationally expensive. When we're talking about strategies that rely purely on price and straight volume and don't require the historical bid and ask to determine if it's a buy or sell and that sort of a thing, then it's a lot cheaper to backtest. And then the thing that ends up mattering is how many variables there are and how much you want to go into trying to optimize it or curve fit it, I guess. You take that optimization too far, you can curve fit just about anything to perfection, I've discovered. Okay, that's what I need. It's average true range with order flow. Well, then we'll do it. You message me on Discord, and we'll program it up. And it's like we've been doing, I can go back on a year's worth of data and it takes like 20 minutes, which is okay. I mean, that makes it hard to do any kind of optimization stuff on it, but. And now, especially with the ATR, because I have had a hard time getting ATR to work for me. So I've tried this thing where it's like, set your stop and target based on the current ATR. And I have tried that and it did not work. I've tried that multiple times and there's just something, maybe it's just something about the strategies, but it doesn't work. Thanks to go to Discord now. Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see what you got. Oh, what's Bill O'Reilly saying? Donald Trump incited the violence at the Capitol. That's the accusation. Oh, but that is an opinion, not a fact, and it's fine to hold that opinion, but facts say otherwise. Yeah, he's right. It's a little painful to have to admit when Bill O'Reilly is right, but he is often right. To use the term incite in a legal definition, he did not incite that. He cannot be legally held responsible for. In fact, he very much said to go and be peaceful. So the facts actually suggest that the opposite. AMD Ryzen news Bazinga. Oh, that's funny because I just saw the AMD Ryzen Twitter account tweet something. I'm like, what? A new mobile 5000 series. Oh, that is what I just saw tweeted. Zen 3 is a breakthrough architecture with new capabilities, leadership, performance, and unmatched energy efficiency. All of this makes AMD Ryzen 5000 series processors the fastest in the world for gamers and creators alike. Click here to learn more about Zen 3. No, that's not the piece of news that Blad's talking about. New mobile 5000 series. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. I'm learning. I've been doing some investigation, and apparently, we're gonna be getting better stuff on the hypermobile front. So it's already kind of a thing right now where you can go and buy these I forget what they call them. It's like a CUP or something, but you can get these Intel machines that are just teeny tiny, and they're basically designed you can play games on them, but they're mostly designed for you're just going to browse the internet and do web processing on it, and they work fine for that. So they have dirt cheap processors in them and stuff. And with Ryzen, the new architecture that they're getting, and AMD kind of going into this space, kind of means that they're just going to get better. So I was looking into this because I was like, okay, so what if you were going to buy a PC instead of get a Nintendo Switch? Because a Nintendo Switch is $200 for the little one. How do you get a PC that matches that? It's super hard. And there's these other things that are coming out that are actually like full-blown gaming handheld machines that are like this big. And they run games. They're designed for games. It's $1,000, but still, it's like, wow. World's a changing. Forex Live retweets LS Trade, who tweets, analysts reconsider calls for weaker dollar, says the Financial Times. It really is kind of funny. Like, there has not been a stronger consensus trade going into the year than everybody being short the dollar, and all of a sudden here over the course of 3 days it's a reverse and everybody's rethinking it. And it's only been like 2 weeks into the new year. He says, Beck, what did I miss? Let's see here. I argued with Gary over why it's so difficult to backtest my strategy. And he said, oh, you need to go and make your own platform. But I don't think he understands that no matter what you do, it's going to take a long time because it's just a really complicated algorithm. And who would argue with you? Right. Yeah. I got pretty mad at him though. Like I got a little personal on that one because I'm sitting here like, listen, I understand this and better than you do, but I digress. I don't want to get back into it because I think he's still listening and it'll just piss him off. And I really like Gary a lot, so I don't want to make him madder than I need to. Anyways, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, and then, well, I haven't taken another trade. One of my robots, the robots have gone long. Did one of them? Oh, actually, yeah, that's interesting. I thought that both. Oh, yeah, he took it. Okay, so Squire took the loss. And Joseph is still hanging on here. I kind of don't like the spot that Joseph took it. That's kind of one doesn't make sense, but I think our friendship transcends politics, religion, and gun control. Well, it's I think it's even more than that, Ace. Oh wait, my spouse asked me after I recapped the trade room if we were still friends. She was a little No, in fact, like, here's the thing is I'm not 100% sure where Ace fits on the spectrum because it doesn't sound to me like he's an outright Democrat. It sounds to me like he's mostly just doesn't like Donald Trump. But I think to me, the fact that he disagrees with me strongly on certain political issues makes it better to me. To be frank, like I think I respect somebody more if they can actually hold their own in an argument, even though you were dead wrong on the one yesterday. But there were parts of it where you made good points. I just like to fight. You said the moon looked like a rabbit. I would say duck. Ah. No, so it is. I think it actually makes it better that he doesn't can you notice like Uzi agrees with me on most things. Uzi is probably further right than me on a lot of stuff, right? And I think we're pretty good friends, but we don't have that kind of dynamic. It's kind of like when you have the worst, it kind of makes the good better. You know what I mean? Ace, when you divorce Seth, I'll marry you, and I won't diminish or disrespect. Anyways, but it's kind of a different thing, right? And I like having people that agree with me, but also having people that disagree with me. And I would be really suspicious if everybody on the stream always agreed with me on everything, you know? Because we know that, especially when it comes to things on trading. I mean, this was politics, but we know that, especially when it comes to things when trading, that we're all retail traders and that our knowledge is very limited compared to what there is to actually know. I'm not a yes man. Yeah, we're similar, I think. I never necessarily considered myself like that until I got older in the business world and started realizing how counter I really was to a lot of what people think. I was like, it was a Goldman in particular. There's a thing in Goldman where they definitely get independently minded people. Don't get me wrong. To work at a place like Goldman, you've got to be an independent thinker for sure. But there is definitely a fear there to tell your manager no or whatever the thing is, right? And I had no such reservation. And so even though that's what they want, it immediately stands out. And that's when I started to realize, wow, Seth, you were actually very disagreeable. I'm not mad or upset at you, Seth, but you do act arrogant and your ego drives us. I do act arrogant, for sure. When I was in high school, people told me that I was like Vegeta. I think I'm not as bad as I was in high school, but I think there's kind of two parts of this that you got to realize, though, right? There's one thing is that when I really feel like I know something and somebody tells me something that I know is false, or, you know, like in this particular case, you're telling me, well, the problem is that you need to make your own platform. And I've looked into that a lot, and that's just not the issue. There is another platform that I could go to that boasts a really, really good backtest times that I think is worth looking at, and I have on my list of things to do. But it would not, the amount of time that I would spend building my own platform would far outweigh the amount of extra time that I take doing the backtest. Because the reality is that it's something that takes a long time to backtest no matter what you do. Because it's a complex algorithm. Like I said, it's like an n-log n algorithm that has to run on every order that's happened in the past year. That's a lot of data. So when somebody tells me something about that like I know a lot about, and they're saying something that I believe is outright false, and they treat me like it makes me mad. It really does. That one is like I'm genuinely pissed off about it. So there's that side of it. The other side of it is that I do sometimes overplay it on stream because I think that you guys find it entertaining. So I don't know. Like yesterday when it was with Ace, especially when I was going into the whole thing about how, you know, it's you don't have standing if you challenge the election law before the election because the election hasn't happened yet, and you don't have standing after the election because you could have challenged it before the election. Like, I was totally playing that up because it was like irrelevant to the conversation, right? I was going into that because I thought it was funny. to get that animated about it. And it's kind of fun to do it, to be honest. It is fun to do it. So not all the time when I'm doing that am I actually really excited about it, you know? I guess the key test would be like, is the market really moving? Like, is it a situation where I should really be like, I'm really missing a lot of opportunity because I'm ranting? Then that's when you know that, you know, I'm off the deep end or whatever you would say it. Wow, you're minus 200 on the day. Well, so yeah, let's talk about Ace's trades. So he went short initially, right? So like, this is where it's kind of funny, is like, if we pull out this 5-minute chart here and you look at where we've been, so this move right here is where he made money, and it actually was already too low. I think that he might have FOMO'd into that one. But it did give a short trade on there, and you could have taken 2. And then he took the 2 and he was done. In fact, it sounds like that he didn't even try to let it ride. So presumably, this is this thing again where it's like, I don't know how he does it, but he knows when to let it ride and when not to. And so he took that one trade and then he said, okay, I'm done for the day. So there's been other days where it's like he caught it and then he trades it again and then catches another good one. But today he knew not to take it. Like how? Oh, he did try to let it ride, but he got stopped out. Oh, okay. But then why didn't you just keep trading? You know, but you notice that he usually takes one and then is done. So I tried going back to his wide signal, the one that is like the most broad interpretation of his signal. And I went and I said, okay, here's a daily target. And when you hit the daily target, stop trading. And there was a daily stop too, but the daily stop was a lot larger than the daily target. And it did not work at all. Oh, it was so terrible. I didn't expect it to work, but I did not expect it to be that bad. But what ended up happening was that it was basically like whether it was working that day or not was 50-50. So it was basically like when 50% of the time you won and you made $20 and 50% of the time you lost and you lost like $200 or something like that. And I was like, I couldn't understand it. I was like, I couldn't believe that it was that bad. Well, Gary says, I said build your own backtest, not platform. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm backtesting it through NinjaTrader 8. So that's all. Like, the issue is it uses the inventory cost basis, right? So, and some of these will use cumulative delta. So cumulative delta, you have to have historical tick replay, right? So it's not just a matter of, so like here is a perfect example of where like Excel wouldn't work for this, because in order to calculate what we're calculating, you have to have one tick data series and the historical bid and ask data, and then for every tick change you go through and you see, okay, here was a buy, it was this much, and this is what the bid and ask was, so that was a buy because of that. And it has to do that for literally every order, right? That's what's so expensive. That's the first half. Then when it's compiled all of that information, it has to go back and it has to do basically an log n strategy where it's comparing every price to every other price, and it does that twice. So like the computational complexity of it is relatively high. So regardless of how you're backtesting it, it takes a lot of computing power to do it. And so all I'm saying is NinjaTrader does it, but it's not realistic for me to once I get over a certain size of a data set, you run out of memory. And then once you run out of memory, it goes so much slower that it's just not realistic anymore. So, and it seems to me that the limitation for me is about at 2 years. So with Brandon, I went back 2 years, and that was like, I don't know if before that it matters. I think that on this one, or do you use the walk forward? No, I use the normal. I would normally do the normal optimization. That's kind of an interesting subject. I should bring that up again to another day, because I think we could talk about that some more. That's an area where I don't think I know as much about it as I would like to. Because I can certainly go through and optimize something, but what are methods to optimize, but ensure that what you do doesn't end up just curve fitting it, you know? And I know that there's some methods that they use to kind of prevent that sort of thing, but I don't know what they are. But I'm normally doing a backtest like that. I'm looking to learn a specific thing, and so I will have everything set up so that I can optimize this one parameter to determine the thing that I want to know. Like a good example would be like this is one of the videos that I have lined up and I just haven't recorded. I think I could probably do that one this weekend, but Bollinger Bands. So what degree of deviation matters? And I've done tests on that, and I found that there is a specific deviation on a 1 minute chart basis that ends up being significant. In fact, that's the one that, oh no, that's not the one. That is another strategy that I found that is profitable and does really, really well, but I don't think that you could actually make money trading it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've heard somebody say that they tried doing exactly that and it didn't make money because of the slippage. Anyways, with Brandon, I really think I want to see it, how it performs into the future. Because I'm sure at some point it is going to come along where it doesn't do well. And the question is just, what is that situation? Because at the moment, it looks like it does really, really well all the time. And it seems a little bit random to me why it does. So we'll see. Go for 1 point plus a tick? Well, for 5 ticks, that's just... That doesn't impress me. You know what? I gotta get going though, guys. I'm wondering if today should be like how to trade a bracketed day. I'm just going to call it picking entries in a tight market, and we'll see how that goes. That might attract more attention than it deals, and I don't want people to feel like they've been clickbaited, but it says it's live stream, so they should get it. You have a separate machine for backtesting? Oh, I think we should, yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, if I make a really nice backtesting machine, I probably would trade with it too, but I really think that it would be a great idea to build a stronger machine to backtest with, but the kind of machine that we need to build is really expensive and just isn't in the cards right now. I'm just not willing to drop $3,000 to $5,000 on a PC right now. So that, especially since we did all of the work on this particular strategy, and it's enough to a spot where we can test it on live data and see how it does on live data, and maybe even actually have it trade a combine or trade a live account and give it a little bit of money. I don't think that that's a huge deal, so I don't know if the stronger PC makes sense. I think that we should like continue to build the channel, and if the channel continues to grow organically, that at some point that will be a realistic thing and we can build a nicer machine and we can make a big deal about it. Are you on? Ace isn't on Discord if that's who you're asking. Anyways, I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay profitable, friends.